What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk Ravens podcast.
Dude, it feels like it's been forever.
Yeah, feels like it's been forever. We just, with it being the off season, we kind of wanted to just.
We've been lazy. It's okay. We've been lazy, but we've also been figuring some things out. This is going to be the off season of abundance, we believe.
Yeah,
as far as
the biggest thing is that there hasn't been, post Super Bowl a whole lot of real news per se that is.
Outside of the depressing fact that we've lost, 8 members of our staff with Keith Williams.
Yeah,
we're getting it worse than the Eagles got it last year.
I will say the one thing that I am happy, the one person I'm happy is saying is our pass rush guru.
Yeah, he
was I think our most important, and
I think he's
best assistant coach.
I think he is maybe the most important person outside of Justin himself in what kind of a season MadaBeast had this year.
All of the pass rushers.
Everyone kind of just like
every single one of them. Jadeveon Clowney, Kave Noy, veterans. They've been in the league for 10 years.
Let's not forget that this has probably been, outside of maybe his rookie year, Jadeveon Clowney's best year. And he was a number 1 overall pick.
He wasn't even that great his rookie year because he had injuries that he was dealing with. But
I remember him.
He was always a freak.
Yeah, obviously he got his name in college, but what I'm saying is we're finally seeing what everyone wanted to see from him, and I have high hopes for Ojabo. I know not everyone's super optimistic about that. I really do have high hopes for Ojabo next season because of that. And also, we've got a pretty decent pass rush. As long as we can keep MadaBeast, we still might be one of the best pass rushes in the league next year.
Yeah, for sure. If we can keep MadaBeast, we'll have that inside pressure. Plus, you're getting, I think, Travis Jones hitting his stride. I think Tavian Robinson, I think, is going to really give us a boost next year. I think you're going to see a lot more of him. Guys that we'll get into
position. Trenton Simpson. Well, I know he's a good coverage guy, but he can rush too.
Yeah, he's going to be most likely taking over for Patrick Queen in the middle.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But yeah, what the purpose of this episode is we're going to go over each position, offense and defense, and I guess special teams, and we are going to give them a grade for the 2024 season, and then we're just going to go over each guy and just, especially those pending free agents potentially, and say whether we would like to see them back or if we would like them to just move on and find a new home. And it could be somebody that is still under contract that is going to be a large cap hit that we wouldn't mind releasing, as long as they don't have a lot of dead cap that would affect us. But speaking of cap money, the biggest news that we've had since the Super Bowl, I'd say, was this past week them coming out and saying the NFL is going to increase the salary cap by about $30 million, which is the largest increase in history, to about $255.4 million salary cap.
Was that the actual official number?
Yes.
Sweet. I thought it was 252, so that's even more than I thought. That puts us at what, 13 mil?
Let me find out, because
it still isn't a lot, but that's better than 3.
Yes, for sure.
What we're looking at.
But trying to find Brian McFarland. He was the guy that he really covers the Ravens salary cap on Twitter. He's at Ravens salary cap. He does a really good job of going in and saying exactly what we can and can't afford. He said right now we're projected to start at $12 million in cap space, but obviously it looks like we're going to end up making some moves to create space as well, with either pay cuts, restructures, extensions, cuts. But the big thing with that is a lot of it could be going to that franchise tag for Justin MadaBeast, which is a $22 million franchise tag.
So tell me the financials. Why is it that we can't just sign him? Like,
it's not that we can't. It's a matter of getting him to agree before the deadline for the
right.
franchise tag.
That's
So
right.
it could
I
be a
always do it like,
situation where, like Lamar, you
yeah,
tag him and you try to, reach an agreement for an extension.
right. I don't know, man. I think that Nadabike would be silly to not resign with Baltimore, only because yes, there are other teams that could use him, but I think he's gonna find just. I mean, you've seen it happen so many times before, where we have this great homegrown defensive player leave the Ravens and then kind of just do nothing.
It's going to come down to money. It's a business. At the end of the day, these guys are playing for a paycheck, and they want to maximize their money and their earnings. And a lot of that comes down to really, frankly, just their agent, and they're just going to follow their agent. That's what was so unique about Lamar's situation is he didn't have an agent, so it was really all on him.
Yeah, I mean, Matabike even said it himself, like we said a couple weeks ago. He wants to be in Baltimore. It's just up to his agent, really.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and just start. You would go offense or defense first?
Why don't we start with the offense? Because there's, the offensive line is going to be a really fun one to look at.
All right, so let's go ahead and start with the easiest position of all, Lamar Jackson, quarterback. And then you'll end up having pending free agent Tyler Huntley and Josh Johnson. I believe Malik Cunningham's contract is still good. I believe we signed him to a 2-year.
Yeah.
But it's looking like, all right, so first off, for my position grade, it's obviously an A+. You have the league's MVP at quarterback, and he stayed healthy for the entire season. The big question mark that was all around him.
Well, if you ask Richard Sherman, it's like a B.
Well, Richard Sherman needs to get out of the drunk tank, so.
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's true.
All right, but Tyler Huntley, I think his time in Baltimore is up. I think Malik Cunningham we're getting for a very, very cheap rookie contract deal.
So do you think Tyler Huntley is going to get a chance to like maybe be a bridge starter somewhere?
It's a good question. I mean, he's definitely proven that he's capable.
Like, what if you put Tyler Huntley on New England just for a year? Well, I mean, I know they have a high pick.
I think a lot of these quarterback needy teams are going to answer that question in the draft this year, and then it's going to kind of come down to post-draft, how things shake out. If there's any injuries, things like that. I think Tyler Huntley is a high-quality backup quarterback.
I could totally see him backing up what's his face in Indianapolis. Now that I know Gardner Minshew got them almost to the playoffs, but just like us with Lamar, it's just good to have a similar backup.
He'll definitely land up somewhere, but I think it's going to be on a backup deal. I don't really find to be a starter anywhere. Josh Johnson, I could see us bringing him back as that third quarterback again.
He's like 30 or 34 now, isn't he?
And he's just got that veteran presence. Good for Lamar, I think. Good for that quarterback room. He could bring up Malik Cunningham nicely, I think. So, yeah, quarterbacks, A+.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, even in Lamar's bad games, he still looked great.
And, another thing that I can see us doing is finding the next Tyler Huntley in this year's undrafted free agent class.
I think that's Malik Cunningham, or at least I think that's what we want.
I just think you get an undrafted guy, see if he beats him out in camp or whatever.
True. Yeah, you have your eye on anyone who you think might go undrafted and maybe?
I mean, I just know that this is a very deep quarterback class, so I bet that there's going to be some undrafted guys that fall through the cracks that, this would be a good place.
Brock Purdy, he was Mr. Irrelevant, pretty much undrafted at that point. Just played Super so.
All right, so let's go running back. Obviously, we started the season with J.K. Dobbins being the number one guy. Week 1, torn Achilles after he's already had season-ending injury with his ACL. He is on his contract year as well, so he will most likely not be back as a Baltimore Raven in my books.
No.
Gus Edwards, also, we have passed the deadline to re-sign him. He's going to go enter free agency. We have that opportunity to bring him back, but I think he's earned himself some money, so I don't think I think he's going to out.
I don't know why we would let him test free agency and eat that dead cap just to re-sign him.
It would be more so if for some reason, other teams, or we had a feeling that other teams may not value him as high. But
Yeah. Still though, didn't we have to eat like $2 million for him?
I'm not sure the numbers on that. Keaton Mitchell, he will be back. I believe he's already started working out. Don't quote me on that, but I believe he will be ready to go week 1 with his injury.
Really, that's such a fast recovery. If he comes
What
back
did-
week
what-
1.
Yeah, I mean, he got hurt in like what, week 16, week 15?
Yeah, and look how long it took Kyler Murray to come back from a week 14 injury.
Well, yeah, we'll just have to stay up to date on that and see how he progresses along. But
I mean, everyone is different. Aaron Rodgers will be. I mean, he was almost. I mean, he wasn't really going to be good, but he was almost good enough to like force his way through it if he had to.
yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how he returns from that injury. I know he completely blew out his knee, so it's going to really just depend on him individually. Everybody's different, like you said. So some people come back stronger. Some people come back and they just don't look the same. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Then you got Justice Hill coming back. Justice Hill, in my book, had the best year of his career this year. You know what you're going to get with Justice Hill. He is going to provide you just that extra little burst, I feel like, that we don't have all the time besides Mitchell.
I think that as long as Keaton Mitchell is hurt, unless we sign someone else, Justice Hill has earned that lead back position, you know?
Right now they're the only 2 left on the roster on contract. So Justice Hill right now is your first string running back.
I mean, what I meant by that was like, unless we sign a big name, obviously we're gonna sign or draft someone else. But you know, like unless it's like if we brought in like Derrick Henry, then of course it's gonna go to Derrick Henry. But if we like manage to re-sign Gus Edwards, I would think like Justice Hill would be the starter.
So yeah, let's go ahead and there's one more guy, Dalvin Cook, who we brought in pretty much just for the playoffs. He had that one fourth quarter pretty much performance in the divisional round versus Houston, where he showed some good things. I don't really know. Maybe we bring him back as an extra piece.
Probably going to be a little too expensive, but you never know.
Yeah, we'll see on that. We kind of when we brought him in, we brought him in thinking he'd just give us a good extra piece for the Super Bowl run, which we didn't complete. But needless to say. All right. Next, with the running backs,
I would give that probably a solid A. I mean, A plus. Really, they were the best rushing team.
We were the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL, albeit the fact that Lamar contributed heavily to that. But Gus Edwards was like a top 3 running back in rushing touchdowns. Keaton Mitchell showed us, I mean, that he can be an elite running back if healthy. And then Justice Hill just completely overperformed any expectation that anyone had for him this year, and turned into a 3-down running back this year.
How many yards did the running back room account for?
Let's look here. I got the stats pulled up. Well, I can tell you that the leading rusher on the team was not a running back. It was Lamar with 821 rushing yards. Next was Gus Edwards with 810 yards. Keaton Mitchell with 396, Justice Hill with 387, Melvin Gordon had 81, who's no longer under the contract.
And yeah, I don't count anyone else because they aren't running backs except for Dobbins, who had 22 yards on 8 carries in his opening game.
Yeah. So that's just regular season stats too.
You know, I'm so irritated that J.K. Dobbins has been hurt the way he has been, because I was at that game. He was going to have a year. He was going to have a really good year. And now I just don't see a way that he's going to be a Raven again. And I don't even know if he's going to be the same player again.
Nope. That's the biggest thing. I think for him, for his sake, it's going to take him impressing some people in some individual workouts for him to be signed, I think.
I think if he was willing to take like are you getting that noise? There's like a squeak. Oh, it might be your chair. Oh, I thought it was my microphone. There could be a very small chance that if J.K. Dobbins was willing to take, did you hear that? Okay, then it's only my computer. Huh. Take a league like a veteran minimum deal and like do like a 1 year kind of thing just to test it out. But I don't know. I don't think that would happen because I don't think he would want that. I think he'd want to go somewhere else if he can.
Gotcha.
You know,
I
he's been
think
hurt so
think
much
he
here.
will, I think he'll end up being like a training camp addition to somebody. I don't think he's gonna sign during this free agency season right now.
Right. Which would be interesting to see if maybe the Ravens brought him in for training camp and he earned his way back onto the team.
Yeah. We'll
over
see.
like a Justice Hill.
But I do think my opinion is I don't really want to spend double digits on a running back, namely for Derrick Henry, who's past his prime for sure. I know everybody and their mom is just projecting Derrick Henry to the Ravens, $11 million.
If you give me Derrick Henry for like 1-2 year deal worth like $3 million a year, great.
Not gonna happen.
That's like never gonna happen unless he's really just chasing a ring and doesn't give a crap about money at all.
The only guy that I think is worth that kind of money that's going to be a free agent is Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I don't think we can afford to be spending that kind of money on a running back.
I think he's going to be closer to like $15 million a year.
And I'm not so sure the Giants won't resign him. I know that it seems really rocky and all that, but I think with his injury history, some people won't be willing to kind of pay what he wants, and he'll end back up on the Giants, or he'll end up taking a smaller deal on a contender. That contender could be Baltimore, but that contender also could be someone stupid like Kansas City or like the Chargers, because they're not going to have Eckler probably, right? I think he's a free agent this year.
Yeah, so my prediction is we sign a free agent running back. I'm going to say it's going to be after the draft.
Yeah, like an undrafted rookie.
We're going to draft one in the middle rounds.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know though. How many picks do we have this year? Before we get comp picks?
It depends on the comp picks.
Yeah,
after free agency, I think.
As we stand, how many do we have?
Currently?
Yeah. Because I think it's more than 7. I think we have like 8 or 9, but I could be wrong. Probably like 4, because I said that.
Projected 8 picks.
8 picks, okay.
Projected.
Oh.
Currently 7. 1 in each round except for the 6th and 2 in the 7th. So we have 2 6s and 2 7s.
Okay.
But I think Patrick Queen will give us a comp pick if we let him go, but we'll get to that.
So will Geno Stone.
Yeah. So Patrick Ricard, he is going to, for our fullback position.
I'd give him like a B. I mean, he did what he needed to. He never really made.
Honestly, I think we used him more than we thought we were going to.
Right.
I think he really hid some of the struggles that we had on our offensive tackles in the pass blocking game. Obviously, we didn't really give him the ball, but I feel like in blocking situations, he showed up. And so I would give it a B+ for my grade on him.
Yeah. I think that, like you said, he didn't necessarily get the usage that he might have wanted, but he did get more than expected, and he was blocking a lot. I think if he had gotten the ball more as a fullback, it would have been a higher grade because he would have done well with it. But I don't know.
Yeah. I think he had at least 1 receiving touchdown, though.
Yeah.
All right, so then that brings us to our next skill position, wide receiver. All right, so for looking at our receivers right now, let's go ahead and just go through the stats for the regular season. Receiving. Leading receiver, rookie Zay Flowers, 858 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns on only 4 drops. He had 77 total catches, and he played in every single game. Odell, he played in 14 games out of the 17 regular season. and he wound up with 565 yards on 35 catches and 3 receiving touchdowns and 3 drops. Mark Andrews, okay, well, he's tight end. Let's go down to the next receiver. Next highest receiver is Nelson Aguilar, who had 35 catches and 381 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he had 1 more touchdown than Odell on the exact same number of catches, except Odell was targeted 20 more times than Aguilar.
Right.
Odell had 64 targets and Aguilar had 45. Aguilar played in every single game. And he only had 2 drops. So he had the
was
least
like
amount
a
of drops.
legit, like, I don't know. He's just like, he's very reliable.
Like we said it earlier, the deal that we made already, he's the only guy that we re-signed that was pending free agency so far. 1 year, 3.75, increases pay by $500,000 from last year. He was at a $3.25 million deal. Really good to see him back. I think he's going to be he's just a really good wide receiver 3, to be honest.
He really is.
He's got speed.
And you know something? If Bateman, for some reason, doesn't work out this season, he could even be a pretty reliable number 2.
For sure. I mean, let's not forget, he was a first-round draft pick.
Right.
He's a little older. He's going to provide that veteran presence. And then on top of that, he's a South Florida boy. So him and Lamar are probably going to be getting a lot of throws in this offseason.
And before y'all clown him, again, 45 targets, only 2 drops. Because, like,
that was the biggest
thing is that he drops the ball all the time. I think I only remember there being 1 drop where I was like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah.
And that was the Steelers game. Other than that, he was pretty damn reliable every time he had the ball thrown his way.
Yep. Next receiver, Rashad Bateman. He played in 16 out of the 17 games. He had 56 targets, so he had 11 more targets than Aguilar. He had 32 catches, so 3 less catches, for 367 yards and only 1 receiving touchdown. And he had 4 drops.
You know what I liked about Bateman this year is it kind of seemed like he was starting to catch fire at the end of the year. It was like a slow burn, but like he was starting to get open, starting to get catches at the end of the year. And 2, he was like wide open all of the time. The chemistry was just off. Like,
yeah, I think the
really
big thing for him, well, we got to point out one thing. We have to pick up his option, choose to pick up his option or not, I believe, this offseason for his 5th-year contract, which I think, to be honest, I think you do. I think you do. Why?
I don't think you can with the injury history and the lack of production. I think if it was
he only had 1 injury, though.
He had 2, didn't he?
I thought it was the same injury that just lingered over and was never fully healed.
Maybe that's it. I thought he injured himself twice separately.
Maybe. But I just think that at the receiver position, I think he's shown that he can create separation. He's shown he's got speed. He's shown he can make plays. It's just a matter of him and Lamar being on the same page. And, maybe you don't. Maybe you say, hey, if you ball out this year, you're going to earn yourself some money either here or somewhere else. But do we want to take that chance like we did with Patrick Queen where we could have that 5th-year option and it could be a lot cheaper for us?
That's true. I mean, we don't have the best history with wide receivers, so if he does pan out, it would be good to have him. My question would be, would he be okay playing second fiddle to Zay Flowers now?
Well, and we don't know who else we may add this offseason.
Right. We could draft another receiver who pops off. We could have the perfect trade set up for us or something. You know?
I mean,
or just like a random free agent that's really good.
The next highest receiver was Duvernay. He had 4 catches for 18 yards. Treadwell had 1 catch for 33 yards. Tylan Wallace had 1 catch for 11 yards. All right, so I still think, the only other receiver that is under contract out of those guys is Tylan Wallace. Duvernay is set to hit free agency. Treadwell, free agency. I think we see Duvernay go somewhere else.
Yeah, probably. Someone will want to sign him for his special teams abilities.
Yes, but I think Tylan Wallace proved,
Yeah.
Did Duvernay even have a return touchdown this year?
No, but I will
He
say
had some good returns, but he didn't actually score.
Duvernay had some pretty decent returns, but he was more hesitant to return the ball.
I can't forget the fact that he got hawked down by a punter in one of the returns that he had.
Yeah, but you can't like that's one play that happened.
I know. It's stuck in my mind. But Tylan Wallace, I think, is going to be able to fill that gap in the special teams role, and I do think that he has the ability to actually show some production at wide receiver.
When he was drafted, he got really unlucky because he was injured, and Duvernay kind of took the role that he was maybe going to have, and then
Prochet was balling in the off season, in the preseason. Yeah. So everyone thought Prochet was going to ball out in the regular season, and then when the lights turned on in the regular season, Prochet turned to freaking ash.
Dust, yeah. But like I remember when we drafted Tylan Wallace, and I was looking at his college highlights. He was one of those guys that I was glad we got. And if he does get an opportunity, I'm not expecting like a great season, but he could be like our Justice Hill of wide receivers this year, where he's just like very reliable down the stretch.
Definitely. So to put a grade on it, I would probably give us a B.
Yeah, I'd say somewhere like a B- or a B.
Just because I haven't had that type of production in years past, but a lot of it I think had to do with the fact that we changed offenses and pass schemes.
I think that Zay Flowers, barring injury, might be like almost like Tyreek Hill next year.
And there's one thing we haven't mentioned yet with Zay Flowers. He was going through, I'm sure most of you have already heard this by now, he had a charge against him for a domestic violence case with a former girlfriend or current girlfriend, one of the two. It has been suspended is the words that they've used, so that doesn't mean that it's closed, but we'll say that he's legally re-entered at any point here, and if that's the case, we may not even have Zay Flowers next year. And that's the right move to make.
Right. From what I heard, listening to the Vault this week, the police closed the case, but the NFL is still looking into it to see if there was any violation of conduct against the NFL. From my understanding, the incident was more so his brother pulled a gun on the girl, and he was there, and so it was just like a really scary situation. But I don't think it was Zay in the sense of like he actually did it. I think
he doesn't seem like he would be the type to do that, but you never know.
You never know. I mean, sorry, my mic.
So yeah, I think you
never want to speculate, but I always like to say innocent until proven guilty.
So we're going to have to say Flowers is part of our future,
right?
But I will say, Odell, I'm sorry, I don't see you coming back to the Ravens at your price tag with what we have in the cap and who we have to pay. His production just didn't match what we would have expected. I mean, he did come in, he did produce in other ways as far as leadership goes, mentorship, all of those things. But at the end of the day,
a really cool touchdown against the Titans.
Yeah, he made some great catches.
And the Rams.
Great catches. Probably catches that none of our other receivers could have made. But in my opinion, you got to try to get younger and cheap. You got to try to get each of those two. There's going to be guys also coming into free agency that people are talking could be options, but I just don't see how we can really sign a high-profile guy with the numbers that we have and the people that we are trying to get, especially with Justin.
We're more likely to either A, draft someone, or B, sign someone closer to training camp.
I could see us signing like re-signing a Laquan Treadwell and then also signing or drafting even two receivers.
Right. Watch us just put Malik Cunningham in as a wide receiver. I don't think Lamar would let that happen. They'd be like, you played me.
But so the big name that's going out, the big names that are free agents. Let's just look here. 2024 NFL wide receiver free agents. Let's go to Spot Track. All right, number one guy is Mike Evans. Second on the list is Odell. Curtis Samuel at number 3. Number 4 is Tyler Boyd for Cincinnati. Cedric Wilson, Kendrick Bourne, DJ Chark, Jamal Agnew, Paris Campbell, Mecole Hardman.
I'd be okay
One
with
guy that I have seen with us attached to him is Josh Reynolds. He's a bigger body. Another guy is Calvin Ridley.
That's not happening.
I
I
don't
don't
see it
want
either.
that to happen.
A little too much, but also Hollywood Brown is going to be a free agent. Some people are like, "Oh, would you like to have him back?" No, I would not. Sorry.
You know what? I actually would like him back. You know why? I think a room full of South Florida boys might be a little different, especially in a Todd Monken offense. I think that you would see a more humble version of Hollywood. Definitely not the player he was when he was in Baltimore. But I don't know why he couldn't get a second chance. We gave Michael Pierce a second chance.
Oh, and also speaking of receivers, T. Higgins in our division did receive the franchise tag this past week.
How much is that franchise tag? Like a lot.
A lot, yeah. It's going to take a pretty big chunk of their cap space. So whether or not that's a tag and trade, whether or not that's a tag and try to extend, who knows? But those are the guys I think that you see out there that could, but there's still a lot of other guys, mid-range guys that you could see coming back. Or there's like Rashid Shaheed. He's a free agent. I think he's a guy that
he's fast.
He's had some good production in New Orleans. 5 touchdowns this year.
I mean, dude, Derek Carr. I don't know. Like, there's something about Derek Carr. He's just always kind of.
Oh, Gabe Davis for Buffalo.
Nah.
I don't like him either, but he had 7 touchdowns this year and 750 yards receiving. I don't think he would be a great fit for us, but who knows?
What about why are people saying Calvin Ridley? Is he already a free agent again? I thought the Giants.
Yeah, it's only a 1 year.
Oh, okay.
I think it was because of the fact that we're looking for a bigger receiver, and he's kind of got a bigger body.
Well, I don't know what kind of money he would demand, because if
it looks to me like he has got the best stats of any free agent besides Michael Pittman, who's probably going to be re-signed.
Well, he got the stats off of like 4 games, so like
he was like 20 yards short of 1,000.
It seemed from the outside looking in like he was pretty. I know he was on my fantasy team too, so I would know this.
Actually, no, he did have 1,000 yards.
Pretty radio silent for like a good portion of the year. He was either on fire or he was just non-existent in the game.
It was also, I think, the fact that the Jaguars in general were like that.
Yeah. Look, I don't put it all on Calvin Ridley, but it is just something I would be concerned about trying to sign him. Because of all the people you said, he's probably my favorite one there. Obviously, he's worth way more than we'd be willing to pay. But can you imagine Zay Flowers, Calvin Ridley, and Rashad Bateman?
I don't see that happening, but I think what's going to happen, we're going to sign a mid-range guy, and we're going to draft at least 1 or 2 receivers in the draft, maybe second round.
Deep receiver draft us also.
Yes, it is.
All
right, so that's enough, I think, for the receivers.
So let's do tight ends.
Tight ends, I think, are the easiest transition there. Obviously, you had Mark Andrews, as usual, started off the season very, very hot, actually, and then unluckily went down in what was it, week 12 or something like that?
Yep, Thursday night Bengals.
Yeah, and so it was week 11, and so he only got to play in 10 games in the regular season. He missed the first game of the season also. He had 45 catches for 544 yards. So he was the 3rd leading receiver.
He'll be back, though. I mean, he was back for the AFC Championship game. So it's not like this year where he missed the first game and then took a couple of games to heat up. He'll be there.
He also led the team in touchdown receptions with only playing in 10 games. He had 6 touchdowns in 10 games.
Yeah.
And he only had 3 drops. And then
what do you do if Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews both are like how is it possible to have like a 2 tight end like receiving system like that?
Yes, it is. And to be honest, it makes your offense so much scarier, because if you think about it defensively, a lot of the times you set your strength of your defense based off where the tight end is lined up. Well, when you can have 2 tight ends that can both block and be big time receiving threats, you can mix up your formations, One of them could be lined up on the line. One of them could be lined up in the slot. One of them could be lined up on the same side. And
That would be fun.
yeah, and you just have them in at the same time. And, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think, for Monk in this offseason to design his offense around that.
Yes,
So,
for sure.
Isaiah Likely, like we just said, he filled in more ways than one. I mean, he came in and just was hot and
This
just
is contract year for him too, right?
this year was
Year 3?
not. He was only
No,
year.
this coming up one.
He has
Coming up.
2 more years.
I thought if you were second rounder later, it was only 4 years.
Yeah, this will be year 3.
Oh shit! Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so he had 2 more years under his rookie contract, but he played in every single game. He started 8 games, and he wound up with 30 catches for 411 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he tied Zay Flowers with the second most receiving touchdowns on the team behind Mark Andrews.
Let's be honest, 411 yards doesn't seem like it was as many. Like, it seems smaller than what he did, Like, when you saw the impact that he had in the games, he was always there in the big moment. He was making spectacular catches.
He had the second highest receiving yards per catch at 13.7 yards per catch behind Odell.
I mean, I saw that Jaguars game live. That was some freaking catch there, man.
He made some spectacular catches this year in traffic specifically. And then on top of that, after the catch, I think, is what makes him different than Mark Andrews. He really just knows how to either hurdle guys, jump over them, juke them out, stiff-armed. He stiff-armed quite a few guys this year. And I think his yards after catch, and it looks like, let's see, he had 216 yards after catch this year. So, yeah, that's, I think, what his big thing was. But he also had a touchdown, I think, in the playoffs too, didn't he?
Yeah, against the Texans.
Yeah, so he had another one there. And I think Zay Flowers had one in the he had the one in the
Chiefs game.
Almost
had 2.
Yep. So, yeah, tight end position, I think, is another A+ for us this year.
Yeah.
We can also mention Charlie Kohler, who kind of came in as that second tight end with Andrews being out. Played in 15 games out of the 17, wound up with 7 catches for 87 yards, had 1 touchdown and 2 drops. And he only had 9 targets, so both of his incompletions were drops.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And I think the Steelers game that he had a couple of those drops. I think he started in that game, didn't he? Or maybe Likely played, but Kohler seemed to be the primary target in that game. Likely scored, and then after that, it was like Kohler was in.
All right. I'm just going to say O-line as a whole position because, there's a lot of uncertainty going into the O-line next year. We don't have to go into all of the stats of the depth players because that's not really that important. Our only certainty is Tyler Linderbaum, and that's a good certainty to have. He's a great center.
Let me just say this. We had technically 2 Pro Bowlers because Kevin Zeitler wound up being a rotational guy after somebody else. I think it was Joe Thuney for the Chiefs. Didn't end up playing in the Pro Bowl, so Zeitler got that nod. So we had 2 Pro Bowl offensive linemen this past year.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't re-sign Zeitler. I think that's the biggest thing there. We do have Ronnie Stanley on contract.
For a lot of money.
I still really want to get out of that contract, and I know there's no real good way to do it this year. I would see if maybe we could. This is going to sound dumb.
The only thing that we can really do is ask him to take a pay cut. There's no way around it. There's no. I mean, I guess we could see if you could restructure, but I think he's already restructured his deal before, like twice.
He's ever restructured. Yeah.
I mean, I think at this point, the only thing, and we can't afford to cut him because it would be too much dead money. Nobody wants to trade for him.
What's up with Morgan Moses? Is he on contract tour or is he a free agent?
He is under contract, but he's also a potential cap casualty.
Yeah, and I know we have Mercari there who could step in if we absolutely had to have him step in there. We've got Voorhees coming up, could potentially
And
take a
honestly,
guard spot.
there's a very, very strong chance we draft an offensive tackle in the first round.
Yes, and that I would say that's probably what we're going to draft unless someone takes the guy we want. Um, I think our backup would be corner, but I think more importantly to the just like last year they said they were retooling the wide receivers and then they drafted a wide receiver in the first round. They're retooling the O-line. So I feel like they're going to draft an O-lineman in the first round, and obviously a tackle would make the most sense. Get a guy to step in on right for a year or be behind Ronnie for a year and then take Ronnie's place next year. That's probably how it's going to go. Guard, I don't think Simpson's going to be back as a starter.
Simpson will be a free agent.
Okay, good. I think Voorhees will get a chance. I think Ben Cleveland's
Cleveland will be a starter, in my opinion.
I mean, he played really well when he did play. I trashed that man.
He's been itching, I think, ever since.
He must have listened to our podcast because I absolutely took that man and threw him in a dumpster. And then he came out and had like two of the best performances I've ever seen out of him.
I think you're going to see Ben Cleveland this year. I think you're going to see, hopefully, Andrew Voorhees, as long as he is fully healthy as potentially two starting guards. And you also have the big Samoan guy from Oregon that had a really good preseason this past year, but he never ended up in the active roster. It was like Amave Laulu. I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but you could see him, I think.
I think he has a good shot at maybe starting on left guard, and then Cleveland starts at right guard. Because remember, it was between him and John Simpson. And they went with John Simpson because he's actually a veteran.
You also have Voorhees going to be in the mix this year with him being healthy at guard.
So I don't know much about Voorhees. I know he was pretty good in college.
He was going to be like a first or second round draft pick before he tore his ACL at the combine.
That is, yeah. Yeah, I remember that now. Okay. And we just happened to take him in the 7th round?
Yeah, so that leaves us we've got Ronnie Stanley, Patrick McCary, and Morgan Moses and Daniel Falele as your tackles. I think Ronnie Stanley's going to be back. I think he's going to be a lot better this year, hopefully, learning how his body is. He's got to adjust to how his body is. And I think we potentially cut Morgan Moses. Daniel Falele, I think, is going to be your penciled-in starter from day one unless we draft a first round or second round tackle to compete with him.
Why would we not start Macari? Why would we let Falele start over Macari? Like, I understand that he's like a unicorn, but you could legitimately get Lamar Jackson hurt by starting Daniel Falele.
Yeah, no. I mean, it'll be a competition, so it could be either one of those two.
I mean, look, I have no disrespect to Falele, and I even liked him playing a couple times last year, but he's still just in that I'm having flashes moment part of his career.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think McCary would probably get the nod over him.
I think he just needs one more year learning. I think Falele will be a starter one day.
And then the other thing that you can't forget is if we draft an offensive tackle in the first round, he doesn't have to play tackle. He could play guard.
Right.
That's where we need him. That's a very easy transition to make, to go from tackle to guard. It's much harder to go from guard to tackle, and that's what makes McCary so just valuable, is that he can play all 5 positions.
Yeah. We could also have Macari as a guard if we needed, and then Rookie as a tackle if we needed that.
Yeah, just it comes down to how it shakes out in the preseason and all that. So overall, as an offensive line, I will give our guys a B+.
I'd give them a C because there were a lot of games where Lamar was doing it by himself and people were just getting through. You look at the playoff game against the Chiefs. You look at any of the games against the Steelers or the Browns. I mean,
okay,
they probably played a decent D line.
Don't forget, though, we're not just grading them on pass blocking.
Run blocking was really good. There were a couple of games where our run game was just
people were selling out.
I'm not judging that because of course if our bread and butter is running, they're going to try and stop the running. I'd say a C. It would be a B if the pass blocking was better, but the pass blocking brought it down to a.
I'm giving it a B plus primarily because of how well Tyler Linderbaum and Kevin Zeitler played. And we were the number one rushing offense. That doesn't happen without a good offensive line.
Right. I mean, true, but also our number one paid offensive lineman and left tackle is probably the least reliable left tackle in the NFL. And our left guard was a guy who basically we just took a random player and plugged him in because we had no one good enough to start. And Morgan Moses was reliable but got hurt. And now is kind of just like one of those people where you're worried about injury and age if he does stay on the team, you know?
Yeah, I'm
That's
mostly thinking for him it's going to be a cap casualty because of the money. I don't think it's going to be as much because of his age and injury concerns because we've had him for 2 years now. He's had one injury for like 2 or 3 weeks, and that was it.
Yeah, again, like the injuries aren't like the worst thing in the world, and he had like 16 straight years without missing a single game. So, dude's good, but it's just like when you get older and you get hurt and you play O-line, it tends to snowball.
Also, another guy we have not mentioned is Sam Mustipher, who is our backup center currently.
Yeah, hopefully he won't have to play.
No, but maybe we can see him maybe be in that fold for guard.
Maybe.
Because that is an easy transition to go from center to guard.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, why not let him have his shot? You know.
All right, so that pretty much wraps up offense.
Were we doing defense today too?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. I think
okay.
It won't be too hard. We can just kind of
D-line, outside linebackers, middle linebackers, secondary.
Yeah. Okay. So all right, let's start with the defensive line. All right, so just listing out our guys. Our defensive end that we have is Brent Urban. He's our one true defensive end that we had. Besides, I guess, Broderick Washington, who was kind of a mix between D end and D tackle. Then you had Justin MadaBeast, obviously, with his career year on his contract year, who is our number one guy that we need to try to re-sign or franchise tag to get back. Then you got at nose tackle Michael Pierce, who we extended for another year during the season. And Travis Jones, who came on behind Michael Pierce. Michael Pierce and him pretty much split the reps at nose tackle.
Yeah.
So just looking at those main three positions, D-end, nose tackle, D tackle, since we are a 3-down defense, I would give, for those guys, I'd have to give them an A, I think.
Yeah. I mean, how many sacks did MadaBeast have? Was it 13, 11, something like that?
Yeah. Let's see. He something like that. Yeah. I'm trying to pull it up, but I don't see it on this website. All right, so Justin MadaBeast finished with 13 sacks, which was top 10 in the NFL, 2 forced fumbles, and 38 solo tackles.
Yeah, beast, MadaBeast.
Yes, so he was a beast for sure.
I mean, I guess we could maybe make improvement on the defensive end. I mean, Brent Urban is good. He's a little older.
Brent Urban is also a pending free agent.
Yeah, we did re-sign Washington.
Washington was re-signed in the preseason and to an extension that I think was a team-friendly deal, so that's probably why it's done. Travis Jones is still under rookie contract. Pretty much everyone's under contract besides Brent Urban and MadaBeast. Brent Urban, I think at his age, you can probably get him pretty cheap, to be honest, and I wouldn't mind bringing him back just because
he's pretty like a young defensive end, though.
I think he would provide a lot of veteran leadership. I'm not saying we don't go out and find another defensive end, but I think for him, it's about not just his play on the field, but his veteran leadership. He didn't really play a ton to begin with. I think like Broderick Washington can also play that position. So Broderick Washington should be able to play that D end, and Brent Urban kind of give him spells. And I think if we could get him for one of those, $2 million deals a year or something like that, or less, that would be good.
Okay.
So I would give that unit right there for sure an A. MadaBeast and Michael Pierce alone, pretty much just disrupted all sorts of things going on.
I mean, this was definitely the first time since probably like 2014 where I was legitimately enjoying watching our defensive line play. Like,
I think the only disappointment to me was Broderick Washington. I just feel like he didn't get a whole lot of usage, and he didn't have a whole lot of production. I think
no.
he did show flashes every now and then, but the fact that he was inactive as a healthy scratch in one of our games just because I thought was kind of strange. And
With the Seattle game, yeah.
I just feel like going forward, he's got to produce some more.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll probably sign another D lineman or draft another D lineman in the draft at some point. I don't know.
He signed the contract. Now play the contract. Like.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he was all that bad. I think that he could be better.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go into the outside linebackers. We've got Jadeveon Clowney, who is a pending free agent. Kyle Van Noy is also a pending free agent. Behind them, we've got Odafe Owe, David Ojabo, who was injured pretty early on, like week 5 or so.
Yep.
Tyus Bowser, who ended up not playing at all in the entire season, and we had no idea what was going on with him. Tavius Robinson provided some extra relief there, and especially for those older guys, I feel like when they got a little tired, Tavius Robinson was able to come in and give them relief, and he was actually showed a really high motor on the field, and he actually had some good production. And then Owe had his best year, I think, of his career so far.
And it's only going to get better. It's only.
Yeah, I think he's going to just keep getting better under Chuck Smith.
It's starting to click for him.
And then you've got Malik Ham, who wound up getting picked up by the Steelers in a very just stupid practice squad de-escalation and signing when their season was already over. And then Malik Harrison, who is also a pending free agent.
Yeah.
So that rounds up that group. That's a big group. 8 players.
I give him an A+. Helped contribute to the league high sacks. Jadeveon Clowney, like I said earlier, best year of his career. I hope we can re-sign him. Kyle Van Noy already said it's going to, he took a deal last year. He's going to want a better contract this year, and he deserves it. He played like he deserves it. I don't know if he'll be back, but he was also a great late addition. I don't know what's up with Tyus Bowser. I hope he's good. I
never thought he fit our defense to begin with.
I don't think he's going to be back.
I think he's 100% a cap casualty. I think we will save between $5 and $7 million by cutting him,
which sucks because he was so good a couple of years ago. Like with the Ravens, you get a great rookie deal with these defensive players, and then you resign them, and either they're great or they just crap the bed. There's no in between. There really is no in between.
I honestly think we try to re-sign Clowney or Van Noy, one of them. I think that's possible. It's very possible that we don't get either of them if they just make a crap ton of money on the market, but it's also going to be probably a late signing, just like this past year. I think those are 2 guys that have been around for a long time, and they're not trying to go through these OTAs and preseason and all that training camp. They're going to come in halfway to the end of training camp and, do that. That's the other good thing about maybe that's a selling point for them. We say, hey, we're not going to require you to come to anything this offseason. You just show up in like week 2 of the preseason and, just make sure you pass the conditioning test and you're good.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, the only reason I don't think that would be the case is because we have a new defensive coordinator.
Same defense, I think.
You think?
I think it's going to be primarily the same defense.
Okay. I mean, I do too.
There may be some wrinkles that, but those guys have been around for so long, it shouldn't be very hard for them.
Okay. I think Ojabo is going to come back and have a decent year. I think Owe is going to earn himself either another contract with us or a contract somewhere else, as long as he's healthy, because he's really putting together the brains and the speed. He used to really just have the speed and didn't really know exactly what he was supposed to be doing technically, or just like he didn't always have like the situational awareness either, but that's really, really gone up drastically in the span of 1 year. And with Chuck Smith, under Chuck Smith, this dude can be a legit guy on our team.
I think it's very, very possible Odafe Owe comes out and produces like Jadeveon Clowney or Kaveh Noy or better this next upcoming year.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. I think Malik Harrison is a long shot to keep on the roster. I think he's earned himself some money. I think he's going to be a potential big decent signing for another team.
Well, luckily, Tavius Robinson will get his shot because of that.
Right. So I think you're going to see more than likely we get rid of Bowser. Then you got Ojabo, Owe, and Robinson as your main three, potentially Clowney or Van Noy if we're able to re-sign one of those. And this is also a position that has been highly, seen of us potentially first-round draft pick.
Yeah, maybe.
So we'll see how that shakes out. So for that position, we said A+ for sure. The production alone.
The middle linebackers, very easy. Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson. Am I forgetting anyone?
Delshon Phillips.
All four of them played great when they played. Obviously, it was primarily Queen and Roquan Smith. Both Pro Bowlers. Roquan Smith was almost the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Patrick Queen is going to go sign for the big bucks in Seattle or wherever. Seattle. I mean, there's really not much to be said about the middle linebackers this year because they played with everything you expected them to play with after seeing the end of the year before. Roquan Smith has completely changed that room. And I only think that the room's going to get better now that the linebackers coach is now the defensive coordinator. I have a lot of faith in Trenton Simpson. And again, barring injury, I have a lot of faith in the middle linebackers room. I think we'll be good as long as no one gets hurt. I think we'll be good.
And we did, I believe, just hire the next linebackers coach from my college team. Trying to remember his name if I can. But anyways, I think he might have been from like a Big 12.
It's in the group chat. Oh, look. Because you sent something about it yesterday, didn't you?
Whenever it happened, it was at some point. Anyways, it's got to be an A+. Two of your two starters are both Pro Bowl, all pro players. And Roquan, I think those two together were the best duo we've seen in
Baylor defensive line coach Dennis Johnson is their defensive line coach.
Okay, so it's
not linebackers, but still a big hire.
Yeah. But I think it's sad to see them go. They're probably the best duo that we've ever had in Ravens history. I don't see a way that we are able to bring.
The way is not get Justin MadaBeast and sell out for the linebacker position, which would be not the smart thing to do, unfortunately.
No, yeah. I think you end up with a
let's trade Ronnie Stanley to
Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson duo next year is what it's looking like.
Trade Ronnie Stanley to a team that's desperate like the Jets and then get clear up that cap space and then resign.
I know everyone's saying that there's a good possibility Patrick Queen ends up in Seattle to reunite him with McDonald. But also Delshon Phillips will be a free agent as well. So we only have two guys under contract at inside linebacker. So it'd be interesting to see how we do there, what we do in the offseason. I would expect us to probably but find somebody in free agency and maybe even draft. That's inside linebackers. Let's go ahead into the secondary. We'll start out with the corners. You've got Marlon Humphrey, Rocky Sin, who's a free agent pending, Jalen Armour-Davis, Brandon Stevens, Ronald Darby, who's a pending free agent, and Trayvon Mullen, who is a pending free agent, I believe. Or did we re-sign him? Trayvon Mullen is a pending free agent. And then you also have Arthur Millette, who is really a nickel corner.
I'll give our cornerback room from last year probably a solid B.
Oh, and Patrick Williams. Yeah, I would give them a B as well.
Here's the only argument to what I said earlier about drafting O-line in the first round. A lot of our cornerback draft picks over the last 3 years really haven't hit. We don't really have great depth, and our starters are getting old, and we're losing a couple of them, probably. There's a chance we'll re-sign Darby. I think there's a good chance we'll re-sign Darby. Marlon Humphrey proved this year that his health is not reliable anymore. He is only 27, and he can still ball. But I can't count on him to play 17 games. I could see us potentially trading up 4 or 5 spots and getting like a really good corner. Now, again, corners are really deep. This is probably one of the deepest drafts just all around in a really long time. However, I don't think we're in a position where we really can be taking risks on people. We need to get our guy. We need to get our guy at cornerback for the next 5 to 10 years. And it's very hard to do that outside of the first or second round.
Yeah, for sure.
Look at Pepe Williams and Jalen Armour Davis. All have, like, both years, really great training camps, very promising, then just like injury riddled and inconsistent throughout the season. Both years. I'll give their rookie year a break because they were rookies. But same thing this year. Brandon Stevens was a safety, and he's developed into a better corner than either of those guys. Brandon Stevens we have for one more year, right?
Let's see what his contract is looking like. Just look up. Okay, so Brandon Stevens is, this is his contract year.
I think if he plays anything like he did last year, he's earning that contract.
Yeah, they've actually said that they're trying to extend him currently.
I know I just gave that big rant, but if anyone on our team is going to be that next guy for the next 5 or 10 years, it could very well be him. He could be that guy already, but we would still need a number 2. And I'm not giving up on Pepe Williams because a lot of his stuff was just injury. But Jalen Armour Davis, just love the guy. From what I can tell, he's not it. He's just not it, and that's okay. But
I think you're gonna see us re-sign. I've already told you this. I think we re-signed Darby. I think we let Rockison and let's see. I think we let
Millette.
Yeah, I think we bring back Arthur Millette on a cheap deal.
Yeah, or sorry, I meant to say Mullins, but Millette.
I don't know what Trayvon Mullen, how we value him. Isn't he like Lamar Jackson's cousin or something?
I really think that's the only reason he's still on the team, or just like practice squad. I don't think I've seen him play much, and we've had him for 2 years, right?
He's been injured. Yeah,
he's been injured. Okay,
he got injured. He had a season-ending injury in the preseason.
That's why, because I honestly didn't know that. I just thought he just wasn't playing. So I have no true evaluation on how good he is.
He played for the Raiders, I think, for a little bit, and actually was on the field and was decent. Okay. So it just depends.
I have nothing against the man. I don't think I've ever seen him play in a Ravens uniform.
Yeah, just in preseason, I think is all I've seen. So, as far as a cornerback grade goes, I'd say, a solid B. I think Marlon Humphrey's injury concerns are definitely something to be worried about.
Especially because they're like foot injuries.
And I think that if you get Ronald Darby, who showed to be pretty solid as that corner 3, I think he's someone that can step in and be a starter. I think we do need to extend Brandon Stevens and make him a good deal. I'm not sure what Marlon Humphrey's contract looks like, but I would think that there's a chance we could restructure that to create some cap space.
They've been talking about it. The thing with Marlon is we've restructured with him a couple times now. I don't know how that really. I know it's like pushing the money to the end. I don't know how players approach that. I don't know if it's like I've already restructured twice. Stop asking me, or if it's like no, I don't mind. I guess it just really depends on the person and what they're willing to do.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
So, yeah, and I think it's very possible that could be a first-round draft pick or second round. I think second round seems to be where most of the corners there's a lot of depth in that second round at corner.
Yeah.
So a good second-round pick for us. But, yeah, let's go ahead into the safety position. We've got Marcus Williams, who got hurt with a torn labrum, I believe it was.
Dude is a monster. Torn
pec.
Tore his labrum.
Torn pec. Geno Stone, who wound up replacing him and being just an interception machine. Kyle Hamilton had his All-Pro year, his first Pro Bowl. And then you have Ardarius Washington, who is also a pending free agent. I believe Daryl Worley as well is also a free agent pending. And Geno Stone will probably end up hitting the market as a free agent as well.
I mean, we already passed the deadline with him, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So he's going to hit the market. Whether or not we try to make him an offer after the dust settles, it probably won't happen since Geno wants to go be a starter somewhere, and he's not going to start in Baltimore.
He will be a starter somewhere, too.
It's kind of like a Chuck.
He's going to go to Seattle.
I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. But, yeah, because I think they're talking about getting rid of Jamal Adams.
Dude, they're just going to be the NFC Ravens.
They got some work to do before that. They don't have a quarterback, really.
Geno Smith is good for one more year, I think.
He's notable.
If they need to develop someone, Or Drew Lock. Give Drew Lock a chance. He played really well when he played.
Yeah.
The only reason he wasn't the starter the year before this season was because he got COVID. And Geno Smith actually played well once the season started.
I give our safeties a grade of an A.
Our safeties were really good. A lot of interception at the safety position. Kyle Hamilton single-handedly gave us that A position. But it didn't hurt that Marcus Williams, when healthy, was a beast.
Marcus Williams, everyone's throwing a lot of shade at Marcus Williams for maybe not having his greatest year, but he battled through so much with his injury. And I just think that next year he is going to come out with a vengeance and he is going to be a baller.
Do you remember how he had like 5 interceptions in the first 4 or 5 games before he got hurt the year before last? Now,
the big thing for him is he's got to take care of his body this offseason. He needs to get into some regimen to prevent these injuries because it seems like it's a pattern of the upper body, right?
Yeah, well, the last year was a dislocated wrist.
Okay, so he just needs to get with his mobility coach or something to prevent these injuries because if he's on the field and he's healthy,
he just needs to get the Neuralink brain implant. So anytime he gets hurt, his body just auto repairs at max speed.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah, that'd be nice. But anyways, him and Hamilton side by side healthy are just instead of us having the duo of linebackers, we'll have the best duo of safeties, I think.
I still think we'll have the best linebacker duo in the league.
Remains to be seen.
I think the common denominator is Roquan Smith. And I think that in our system with Roquan Smith, it is very hard. If Roquan Smith is your mentor, you aren't going to fuck up because you're not going to let down Roquan Smith. He ain't going to let you let down Roquan Smith. So,
the knock on Trenton Simpson is his football IQ. I heard he's not, doesn't have the biggest IQ or, isn't the smartest player, but it seems like instinctually he's very good and he's very athletic. And if he can figure out the mental piece, he's going to be really good. And I think we've got the mentorship and coaches in place to make that happen.
Isn't that what they were saying about Patrick Queen 2 years ago?
I don't remember. Patrick's issue was just that he was out of position.
Yeah. I think that would have a lot to do with football IQ, probably. But all I'm saying is I think Roquan Smith will help out a lot with that. You do bring up a good point, and he is a really good pass coverage linebacker from what I've seen and heard, which is something nice,
Yeah,
there were opportunities for our linebackers.
He got picked on quite a few times this year in pass coverage on running backs.
Yeah, imagine if we can kind of lock that down a little more. Maybe we don't lose 17-10 to the Chiefs. Maybe we don't blow a game against the frickin' Browns because we can actually stop that quick little stuff. I I'll say I have a lot of faith in him because Zach Orr is our defensive coordinator from linebackers coach. And now that he's kind of had a year in a system and now he's going to get an opportunity to start next to Roquan Smith, I think it all just points to him having a really good second year.
Yep. Yeah, so then let's just get into special teams then.
Woo.
Start off with punters and kickers. We got Jordan Stout and Justin Tucker. I think Jordan Stout, I'd give him a solid B plus. I think
He had a
he had
couple whiffs.
ridiculous boots, but he also had a couple shinks in times that was not needed.
Yeah. Justin Tucker, I'd give a solid A. It would be higher, but during the normal season, there was that 50-plus yard drought for a couple of weeks where he was like 1 for 4.
We did not Tucker a lot. We scored touchdowns. We didn't really have to kick field goals a whole lot.
Yeah, and I don't blame Tucker. I'm not like Justin Tucker needs to go. He can't kick more than 50 yards. He's fine. He's going to be completely fine. But everyone has a down year, and I think this was his version of a down year. Which, if that's a down year, then that's still pretty damn good.
Yep.
I agree with you on Stout. Had some big chokes and some bigger moments, but for the most part, was really good.
Yeah.
Don't really know how to evaluate long snapper. I don't think we really had any weird snaps.
Well, the one thing I'll say is that Tyler Ott, who was supposed to be the starting long snapper to start the season, he got hurt, and then we brought in Nick Moore. Tyler Ott, I believe.
Other way around. Nick Moore got hurt. We brought in Tyler Ott.
Okay.
Gotcha. Yeah. Who is a Pro Bowler.
So I'm curious to see how we handle that because I think both of them are still under contract next year, and obviously we're not going to carry more than one on the roster, so that'll be a battle.
Right. Returners, there was...
Punt return was Devin Duvernay and Tylen Wallace. Kick return was Devin Duvernay, Justice Hill, and Tylen Wallace.
I can't give Tylen Wallace a bad grade for lack of opportunity. When he got opportunity, he kicked ass. So I will give him an A, just a normal A for returning. Because I think he had, 4 returns and got a touchdown on 25% of them. So,
I would give ourselves a solid B plus when in the kick return, punt return game, just all together, Duvernay and Tylen.
Overall, yeah, probably like an A or B.
It would have been nice to get another touchdown, but that probably would have put me to the A range. But one touchdown, I'm going to give us a B plus.
Yeah.
And I think again, Devin Duvernay is probably no longer going to be on the Ravens next year. Tylen Wallace will probably take over that punt return duty.
Maybe Justice Hill.
Maybe Zay Flowers. Maybe Justice Hill. And maybe somebody that's not on the team right now.
Yeah. True.
So we'll see how that pans out. But that is the review of this offseason.
I was very pessimistic, probably all of last week with all of this, but actually sitting and looking in depth, I'm a little more optimistic of what our year will look like next year. Obviously, it's not fully complete. We've got the draft. We've got free agency. We've got training camp.
I don't think it's going to be as smooth of a year.
It won't. We're not going to win 14 or 13 games.
Which is fine.
We'll probably win somewhere between 8 and 11 and either win the division or come in second, barring massive.
A lot of it has to do with how this offseason shakes out and who we are able to sign and who we are able to draft.
Yeah. That's pretty much all it comes down to, and then just staying healthy.
Yeah.
Which we weren't perfect at this year, but it was a lot better than the 2 years prior. So
the radar
in the right direction.
Strength coach making that happen is big time.
Yep, for sure. All right. Was there anything big news-wise that we're missing out on? I'm trying to think. I thought they announced the Brazil game, but I think
Xavier Howard for the Dolphins.
Yeah, he's not gonna be a Dolphin next year, I guess.
Yeah, they've already announced that he will be released. So that will be one guy to keep an eye on. I don't think we're gonna be able to afford him, so there's that.
Mike Evans is a big person to watch because I don't think he's coming to Baltimore, obviously, but he's going to go somewhere and make another team way better than they already are.
The one that scares me is Derrick Henry. I really don't want him, and right now we're the betting favorites to land him, so I don't know.
Depends on the money. It really just depends on the money. Anyway, you all, thank you for watching. like, subscribe, and we'll come at you guys again next week with something new and good.
Yep. See y'all.